I don't hear any feedback now.
All right. So, we
Yeah.
are live.
Let's go, man.
Oh yes. So we just got to actually. So we had to. So to eliminate the feedback, we actually just had to let our panelists out, but we're actually going to let them right back in. So thank you for being patient with us. We really appreciate it. As you know, technology sometimes doesn't always work in your best interest, but since we are the future of work, we're going to make it work. We're going to make it do what it does, because that's what we came here to do, right?
I see you stealing my lines. I see you.
Oh yeah. Well, I think
Yes,
Kanye West once said that great artists or good artists make art. Great artists steal. Okay. I don't know if Kanye actually said that, but
hey, brother, you cooking right now. I'll let you cook. Yeah,
right.
Sounds good.
We got
sounds good.
Back. We're actually just
Miss Lee's back. That's
we're just waiting for Miss Cadet to come back on. And so just so we can go back, and we'll wait for Miss Cadet to come back on, because we want to bring you guys an awesome show. So we'll wait for Miss Cadet to come back on as well, and then we'll go through introductions again, because I know we had some issues. So just want to make sure that everything is going well.
Right.
Yeah.
Thanks for your patience, everybody. I think we got it now. But
oh yeah, definitely. And like I said, for me, I'm really excited. And once again, we're talking about how to be a COVID super parent, in the COVID era. How to maintain that professionalism, how to make sure your kids are getting the education, and being able to go to work, during this era. And so, we are definitely, really excited about this topic, because it's something that's near and dear, to my heart.
Yeah, it's a hot topic, working in the school system, working in the school in general. You see a lot of stress from the parents, from the staff, from everyone that's involved in the community, all the stakeholders. So I'm happy to tackle this, and hopefully people get some takeaways that they can tangibly use during this time.
That's wonderful. So we got that. So we actually got that issue fixed. We were able to get that. Done. And so what we want to do is really just go back through introductions.
Yeah.
People can hear
one more time.
Yes. So I'm going to start, once again with Miss Cadet. If you can go ahead and let people know who you are, definitely be appreciated.
Yeah.
Hello, everyone. My name is Jenny Cadet. I'm a mother of two boys, ages 7 and 9. I'm also a vice principal. I've been a vice principal for 6 years. I started in education in 2004 and just kept going with it because I do love educating students. I'm a part of the sorority. I'm a woman of Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated. And along, just like Miss Lee, I'm trying to start my own business by doing math kits that I want to eventually send out to have people do monthly subscriptions.
Oh, very nice. Awesome. I mean, let's definitely get a little bit more into that a little bit later into the show. Definitely about that. I think that's something needed, especially for, the parents that are at home with their kids, or, have kids that are in pre-K, gearing up for kindergarten, that don't really have the curriculum that they need to get started in the school. But let's talk about that. And so I want to let Miss Tamara Lee go ahead and introduce herself.
All right. Hello, everybody. So my name is Tamara Lee, and I've been working in the nonprofit sector for a little over 10 years. I currently own or have 3 businesses that I'm currently building, and I'm also a community school here. Children under the age of 4. And I'm working from home, homeschooling, and all that good stuff. So it's a lot. I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here.
Yeah, thank you for being here. And Tam, you are breaking it up a little bit as well. So yeah, I just wanted to let you know. And so I'm Duncan Harrison. I'm one of your co-hosts here at the Rise and Grind Show, a Mercer County Works production. Please make sure you check us out, www.mercercountyworks.com. I am also a parent of 3, 2 girls, 1 boy. I want to give them a shout out because they're probably watching. So hello to Vanessa,
Definitely.
Victoria, and Mandela. If you're
Definitely.
watching, please, give them a shout out
The
as
future
well.
of work,
Right, if you're sitting there with your kids, make sure you send us a message in the comments. We can give your kids a shout out as well as they're sitting there watching this as well. So go ahead, Jay Tyler. You want to take it away?
Yeah, I'm noticing a theme here. Everyone has kids and everything like that. I don't have any kids, but I love the kids, right? So I work in a school as well. And so I see firsthand the effects of COVID with parents, with the students, with the teachers, and all the stakeholders involved. So I do have that unique point of view, but I'm one of the other co-hosts of this channel. I'm happy to have our first episode, jumping it off with this important topic that's super relevant to everyone here. So just happy to be here amongst our esteemed guests as well.
That's right. All right. So let's get into it. Let's get into the questions.
Yes. Questions, and more questions. So what I want to know from, either of you, right? You can go ahead, is kind of like when you first heard of the COVID. I think it started for us in our school. It was about March where things really started getting serious with the COVID, right? You started really feeling like, hey, this is really tangible. This may affect our community. What was your first thoughts as, a business owner, or as yourself, Jenny, an educator, or just as a parent? Like, what were you first thinking about? How can you protect your family? What your strategy was?
Oh yeah. Anybody want to take
it's up to anyone? Yeah, it's up to anyone.
There you go. And so, and I can honestly, you were good, Jenny, because I was going to jump right into that. But go ahead, ladies first, please.
I'm going to be honest. When it happened, when everything was transpiring before school shut down, I did hear of it. So what I did was I did go out to Costco's. I got my water, my paper towel, my tissue, my Lysol. But to be honest, when I got those things, I was also prepping to go on spring break with my boys. So I did take my children away. We were in St. Thomas, and I did hear all the talk. So, what's going to happen? Are you scared? And I was like, no, I had everything packed. I wiped down the seats. I did what I thought that was okay to do. And fast forward a few days, then I'm in St. Thomas and I'm getting robocalls from my district. And then my husband's texting me saying that my son's school is saying, come on the weekend and grab their stuff. They're closing school. And it was like, wait a minute.
Wow.
Like, I never thought that we were legit shut things down. So, with it being a vacation, I'm in the islands, it kind of start to grow anxiety because you never want to leave your vacation so early. But that Monday when I was on my way home, I was so happy I couldn't wait to get home and see what I needed to do extra and were we fully prepared. And it was kind of alarming. I'm not going to say scary because at that point it wasn't scary. It was just alarming. Like, okay, let's make sure we have everything we need to have because now they shut schools down. Who knows what else they were going to shut down. So I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to get back to Jersey and make sure that my family had what they needed to have for a few weeks.
Okay. Wow. I think a follow-up question for me is, did you shut your vacation down early? If not physically, mentally, right? Because
mentally.
Right.
It was definitely mentally. So I would say we left because they have 2 weeks off. So we left maybe Wednesday and was coming back Monday. That weekend was when I was getting all the calls and people were concerned back in Jersey. So we were scheduled to come back Monday, but I would say mentally, I kind of probably shut down around Saturday. And I think school shut down maybe Tuesday or Wednesday.
Right.
And I just kept feeling a sign of like relief, like, yes, I made it home. Now let me be able to plan to see what was going on.
Okay. Yeah. Wow. Oh yeah.
And Tam, I want to hear your thought process as well, because as an entrepreneur, you work from home, you have children. How were you feeling when you first heard the onset of coronavirus and the impact it might have with the schools and business and things of that nature?
So for me, in the beginning of the pandemic, I didn't really, there was no really real anxiety until people started panicking at the grocery stores. There was just mass hysteria, and
Right.
it was like, okay, maybe I need to take this more serious because we may not have any food, or any water. So for me, it was the mass hysteria that was created by the media, and then in turn that was trickled down to the people. But it was just a matter of just making sure, we had enough food in the house. I think my main thing really was water, because I garden, and I during the season I freeze up vegetables, and I make sure we have those type of things in the freezer. But it was the water aspect for me. It was, okay, are we going to have enough water? People are going out and they're going overboard, and they're buying up everything. And this is before they started putting restrictions on how much people could actually take. Business wise, it was okay because it was off season for me. I do water ice during the warmer months. So it was actually, you know what? COVID started in March. So it was one of those situations to where we were like, okay, we don't think we're going to really be able to function. I'm sorry, I'm outside because I have 3 children inside, and the baby just woke up. So I had to step outside for this. So, it's one of these situations where you got to make adjustments. So this is where I am. If you hear horns, if you hear the train, that's where I'm at.
We in the nature. It's all good. It's all
good. So, it was like, okay, with the business, it doesn't look like we're going to be able to get up and running this season because everything was shutting down. So, we had to kind of plan ahead and think, okay, if we do have an opportunity to start back up, what is that going to look like, with all the restrictions, with all the precautions with COVID. So it was just about just trying to plan ahead. And, we really didn't get a chance to get up and running with the water, which was fine. It was really more so about making sure that our family, we have smaller children, so making sure everybody was safe. And my daughter, they did the whole homeschool thing, and we just kind of fell in line with what was happening. Like, we live very minimalistic, so it was just like, okay, we're home, we have we don't have to go out or not, and it kind of just roll with it. I didn't really plug into the media too much because media can really have you in a panic and be anxiety ridden. So I just kind of what was happening, and that pretty much was it.
All right.
Wow.
All right. So
I wanted to ask Jenny a question as well. Did you have any travel restrictions while you were in St. Lucia, or did you make it out in time?
No. So it was St. Thomas, and St. Thomas is United States territory. So no, we were fine, because in St. Thomas, they at that time, I think they had under 7 cases, so they weren't as bad as we were in the States.
Okay.
And I'm pretty curious as well, just in general, did you all encounter any tissue wars? Because I know that was a big thing. Nobody, we have tissue, all this other stuff. So
I'm gonna be honest. Right. And my husband, when I came home, the first thing I said when I came home, I was like, see, when I was getting all the stuff at Costco's, and I'm not saying I took extra. I just got that big pack that's like 35 tissues or whatever, maybe 50. I got the regular pack of paper towel, and I think I got 16 cans of Lysol, and I got that all in the beginning of March. So when I brought it in, you know how it is. I brought it in the house. He was looking like, and I'm like, listen, we never know. Better safe than sorry.
Correct.
Because I talked to other men, and they were up here with 2 rolls of tissue because it was a war. So honestly, when I got home, I didn't have to go back out.
Wow.
Interesting.
For a while, like maybe a week or so.
I think I was fine with the tissue war. Same thing. I got the big pack, and we were fine. And my thing was the aloe vera gel. Like, I normally just buy that. All the plants were sold out, and aloe vera gel online was sold out, because I said, okay, because the big thing was hand sanitizer. So once that sold out in alcohol, I was like, I can't even make my own because everybody's buying up aloe vera gel that never bought it before.
Because everybody's trying to make their own too.
Yeah, everybody's trying to make their own. So it was so special. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
To put it simply, we couldn't find any Lysol. We couldn't find any toilet paper because of you two. You had already bought it before we could actually get to the store. So I don't know who buys 16 Lysol, 22 aloe vera plants.
Listen. You know why I did it? I can justify that because I was going on the plane with two kids who are going to touch. So I Lysoled everything. I went into the resort Lysol.
The plane?
You said what? Well, yeah, I did, and I wiped it down.
They actually let you bring Lysol?
No. I Lysoled the wipes and put them in like a Ziploc.
And you do your thing.
Yeah.
FAA. Well, let's do that's on that puts you on the terrorist watch list.
Don't say that too loudly, man.
Right.
Yeah, I know. Well, you don't want them to come get me.
Yeah. Hey, okay, so listen, that's funny. I love this. Right. So here's my other question. I'm thinking about the hysteria that was going on, especially in the US. Just everyone didn't know what to do. It seemed like it just kind of hit people quickly. We heard about it, but then it came to our country, and now it was like, wow, what do we do? So tell me about, like, if you had a plan for your family, like after you got all this stuff from the grocery store, after you kind of, bossed up with your equipment and everything like that, what was the plan from like a school standpoint? What was the district's plan for the school? I know Tam says you have a homeschooler, right? But I don't know if all your kids are homeschooled. So kind of what was your thought in terms of like what I'm doing with my kid versus what everybody else is trying to do?
I was just happy that I only have one child, and she's preschool. So, it wasn't with the preschoolers. It wasn't as, I guess, serious for her as it is for, elementary and up. Mm-hmm. So they just kind of gave out packets, and, we just rolled with it, and we just focused on doing as much educating her and keeping her on track as possible. So it wasn't that difficult for us to transition into that homeschooling piece.
Okay. Good.
For us, I would say it was, compared to other parents that I've heard in districts, my sons, I love the school they go to. So when it was time for them to transition and work on Google Meet and their iPads, I had, at that time, I had a first grader and a third grader. Those were things that they were already doing in school. They were having a conference with their teachers and going on Seesaw and doing things like that. So I thought my kids were well prepared to work from home. Now, the other standpoint was my husband and I well prepared to work from home and also monitor our children. I will be my little one who was in first grade. I do think it affected him a little because he is a very independent child. I know in school he does not ask for help, but because it was mommy and daddy home, it was like, can you sit next to me? And it came a point that I had to say, and that's my baby. And I had to say, listen, you can do this by yourself. I know you want us here, but mommy and daddy have to work as well. Call us when you need us. And not saying we weren't right there, but just sitting next to him. Because again, I didn't want him to regress and be so clingy. The third grader, he was very independent with his work. At times, he would tell us he's finished and he wasn't finished. And we taught him a lesson with it because the teachers they communicate with us very well. And I think after 2 days, they realized that Evan, shout out to Evan, was not on task. Yes. And what we did was we showed them it's a lesson because you're still going to finish this work. But since you let the work pile up, now you have to sit for a longer time. And I mean, it did give tears. He cried. But it's a life lesson because you know what? You had the time to do it each day. All the work was reasonable. It wasn't like they were giving them a bunch of work. But when you don't turn in your assignments, and sometimes it was even the fact that he did the assignment, but he just didn't submit it. And that's something too that I was teaching him. When you do your work, you have to go back and check and make sure it went through. And then he learned. It wasn't like it was torture for him, but it was something that I was able to see, and I used it as a learning lesson. But I think the biggest part, one of the conflicts was that if I had to do, no, I didn't have to do observations, but if I had to be in on a meeting or had to conduct an interview for my job to get away from my sons, like you wouldn't understand, the place that they never looked for me was their bedroom. So when I had to have privacy, I would go to the bedroom, their bedroom.
Wow.
They never looked in there, but they looked in my room.
Right.
Yeah. So I think it was a smooth transition. I would really chalk that up to their school that they go to. They go to Oak Knoll School in Summit. So I think they were very well prepared for this. And even now, they're in school 5 days a week, full day. But they bring home their iPads and their Chromebooks. They didn't do that last year, and they work with the teachers. So even little hiccups that they might have had during the pandemic last spring, they're working on that as well. Because it was times that the kids would come into Seesaw and everyone's chatting. Kids don't, first grade, they didn't have their mic off. So now they're practicing with that, because I do think that they're preparing for us to shut, if they had to shut down again, that they will be well equipped and the kids will be ready.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
And can I jump in on that too?
Yeah, of course.
I have 3 little ones, and so
of course,
I think to speak to Jenny's point, is that really I guess for us, right? So we have 3. I think Vanessa was 9 at the time. So 9, 6, 5-year-old. So 3 different grades. Really trying to handle that. Shout out to my wife. I just want to make sure she's watching this, because
shout out to your wife.
Yeah, if it wasn't for her organization, making sure that all the kids, knowing when the kids' classes were, we'd be in trouble, because when the pandemic hit and they switched over, I went from working professional to and my wife as well, to principal, janitor, cafeteria person, disciplinarian, all those, and as well as teacher, right? Because now, the teachers are teaching, but then, you also have to add that additional, because they're not actually in the classroom. And I felt like, we were working from, can't see in the morning to can't see at night. And, literally waking up to do, your actual, 9 to 5, and in between do all those other things, and going to sleep and having to do it the next day. I couldn't wait till the weekend. When the weekend came,
I'm with you. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Same here.
The weekend had a different meaning this time.
That's right.
The weekend was like the best thing ever. Oh my goodness. I was just like, whoo, I don't have to check any work. I don't have to wait for an email to say something. Wasn't something great. I was happy.
You know what? And from my standpoint, I'm not a parent, but I had a different look, from the outside, because I work in the school too. So I'm the PR and marketing person. So I had a lot of, to do with the internal and external communication that would involve with the school plan, right? What we were doing, why we were doing what we were doing. And so it's a lot of late nights on that, just planning and moving in accordance with the Ministry of Public Health, the Ministry of Education in the country that I'm in. And for anyone who doesn't know, I'm not in the US, I'm in Qatar. I work at a school in Qatar. And so
for people that don't also know, where exactly is Qatar located?
Well, if you look at the map, Saudi Arabia, right? That's kind of where I could say, if you go to Saudi Arabia, you'll see this thumb-like country, right? Looks like a thumb on top of Saudi Arabia.
Nobody knows where Saudi Arabia is. Just say I'm an hour away from Dubai. That's all you got to tell people.
I knew where it was.
Okay, all right. See, like somebody know, right? Come on now.
Yeah.
I'm a cool.
I thought it was in the Middle East.
Right. No doubt. So there was pressure, from that standpoint too, because I'm responsible for answering parent questions. I am the point person for that. So I was working, hand in hand with the parents to give them as much education as possible on what we're doing and information to calm their fears. Because believe me, there was a lot of fears out here as well. about what was going on, a lot. But I do have a question for the panelists here. Just jumping from your, responses to this question, the initial question. So in terms of your school's plan, when COVID happened and the reopening plan for this year, were you satisfied as a parent? Did you see things that could have changed or that input should have been implemented? Tell me.
I was satisfied.
Okay.
They share with us periodically they started to share with us, I think even around May, about them planning. And they kept us in the loop. The communication was consistent. And they also sent us, right before school started, a nice little video. And the video was just to introduce the students in September about how things have changed. They took out light switches in a bathroom and made it touchscreen, and they showed them how to use their elbows.
Wow.
They have plexiglasses in the lunchroom, plexiglass on their desks. And they're very honest about any activity that's going on, if there's any cases, if there's any rumor of cases. And they still, honestly, they try their best to still make it seem like a normal school environment, and they're consistent with all the guidelines. The kids wear masks. The teachers even gave some of the kids masks. So I am very happy. And I'm also, the biggest part is I'm happy that my kids are healthy, safe, and they're happy to go to school and be around their friends, because that's something I really wanted them to do. I wanted them to be able to interact with their friends again, because they stopped in March and weren't even allowed to see, they weren't allowed to see play dates stop. So I was very happy and very pleased. And I send them to school every day, not thinking that they may catch something due to the school. But in general, you can't, what about that kid who lifts up their mask and, coughs on their hand and then gives their friend a high five or throws the football to your child? You can't watch everything, but thus far, realistically, they're doing an awesome job.
Wow.
Shout out to your school in Summit. And shout out to Summit. My baby sister was born there. Shout out to Summit.
I know that's weird.
All right. So Tamara, what about you as well? Yeah. Yes.
There was a lot of uncertainty going into this new school year. He's still there, but 6 weeks in, and there's still a lot of issues. I think that they could have used or took more time during the summertime to prepare. I think, as far as being virtual, they just needed more time to prepare. And still to this day, they're still trying to work out the kinks with my daughter's schooling. They ended up giving everybody tablets, which was great, because at one point, we were all around here sharing like devices, which was kind of stressful. So probably within about 3 weeks in, they did give the students devices, which helped out tremendously. But now, like I said, even still to this day, they're still trying to work out kinks with the technology. Some days it's fuzzy on their end. Some days, they can't get it together just at all. And then some days it's great. So, but the content I do appreciate. I think that they did a great job with organizing the curriculum. The best that the time to take with planning, and also just everything that they had to work with. So I appreciate it. My daughter, she loves it. She's a social butterfly, and I think that was what I was the most concerned with, was that social aspect of her, being in school missing. But I think that, her cup is full as much as it can be right now with what they're providing. And I appreciate it. So they're doing the best that they can.
And I want to speak to that, because I think that's very important. Just when we talk about that social aspect and kids being able to actually interact, with other kids and adults and scenarios. And I think that, if you're on Facebook, if you're on Instagram, with Snapchat, whatever, we've come into an era where people are talking more about isolating themselves from other people and trying to be really independent, where we are a being that needs to be connected to other people, right? We
Absolutely.
that has to interact with other individuals, and that's very important for the kids. And so that's something that my wife really talked about, was making sure that they had those social interactions. Now we have 3 kids, so they play amongst each other, but after a certain while, as you heard earlier, it turns into gladiator school. And may the
Oh
it's
yeah.
like, Hunger Games around here, so may the
Oh
best
yeah.
may the best child win. uh
Hmm.
some days
Hmm.
it's the young one, some days it's the middle one, some days it's the old one. It really just depends
Right.
on the scenario and what's the
Right.
closest weapon at hand. But I think that's very important when we talk about COVID-19 and really moving into the future, of things, that we cannot continue with this whole isolation thing, that we have to get back to working together and having these kids actually being around each other.
So, all right. So I'm gonna piggyback off of what you said and challenge you on this one, right?
Mhm.
So if there is reduced contact with peers from a physical standpoint, right? Especially for Tam, because you say your daughter is homeschooled. Okay. So how do you reinforce social skills when it's reduced? Right? How do you create those opportunities for social gatherings physically if you can? Is it all online? Right? Are there intermediaries? Right? Talk to me about those things, because that is undoubtedly tough for everyone that's dealing with this now.
Right. So she has her online interaction with her peers, and then now they've created this Facebook Messenger for kids.
Hmm.
So, we allow for limited, interaction that way with a couple of her friends. And then our next door neighbors, we've allowed her to go outside and interact with them. And I think that that's been her saving grace, on a daily basis, is being able to go out and play with her friends in the neighborhood. And then, when it's the weather isn't so great, then she has the Facebook Messenger that she can tap into, or just any type of video, streaming, whether it's her friends or whether it's relatives. That's how her social cup is filled. So
Right.
we've been able to kind of get creative in that aspect. Obviously playing outside with her neighborhood friends isn't all that creative, but that's a way for her to have that social interaction, and she seems
Mhm.
to be okay with it.
Okay, that's good. That's good. And then, Jenny, what do you think? What have you done in that same regard as well for your children?
When everything shut down in March,
Yeah.
I had some parents reach out to me to do a virtual play date, which was
Mhm.
more work for me
Mhm.
than fun,
I
or
see.
even them having fun.
Yeah, I see.
But it was still something for them to communicate. My oldest, that was more for my younger one. I think he had 2. Eli had 2 in first grade. And then my son has the switch. So he was able to talk to a lot of his friends
Yeah.
with playing video games back and forth. And that just, even though they weren't really having a conversation, they were like, fighting together over the screen, whatever they call it. It was just a way for him to bond with his friends from
Mhm.
school that he just immediately stopped seeing. A lot of FaceTime. His cousin would, oh my goodness,
Ooh, face.
cousins and God brothers. Like, it was so funny because my phone would ring and it was his iPad would ring, and people would call for him more than me, and it was just FaceTime, and it was really, hey, he would call his cousin, hey, I'm going to play Roblox, and
Mhm.
legit, they weren't even like talking to each other. It was just like them watching each other play the video game, but it was some type
Ooh.
of facial social interaction. Sometimes the screen would be faced to the ceiling, but they were able to talk to each other and tell people to come into this room and that room. So video games was a lot. And then we went to the beach. So when the beach opened up, we went as a family. And then slowly but surely, we start to connect with their cousins in the physical, but 6 feet apart. And then we started to build a little cohort, as they said. Yeah, cohort. Like, okay, we're only hanging out with each other. So therefore, if something happens, we know, okay, I need to tell this family and that family. Because like, to be honest, summertime is summertime, and we wanted to make it worthwhile. They've been basically locked up in the house for a few months. So we wanted them to get them outside, get some vitamin D. And we thought it was safer in the summer months. So they interacted, just like Miss Lee said, they interacted with cousins, and a lot of it was online communication until, I would say, like July and August.
Okay. I love it. I love it.
Does anybody else is my oldest, so she's into this thing, and I know her classmates are in this thing called Roblox.
Yeah, that's what Evan was playing. That's what. Yeah, so the Roblox, and then calling his cousin just so they can go do design it and stuff like that. Yeah, and Roblox is so big.
So I was talking to another parent, because Roblox does allow her to, one, obviously play a game, learn this, the skill, the mechanical skills, as well as interact with her friends. But also, when I was talking to another one of the parents from the school, that you just have to be careful with, there are other, people on there that may, not, may try to do some harm to your child as well, which is pretty interesting.
We communicated that with my oldest, because first he was on Roblox, I think a year ago, and then a cousin told us about that, and then I took him off, and then he had his Switch and he was playing a game, and I said, you know what, opposed to how I grew up, I'm not going to say don't do it and just say because I said so. So I did tell him, listen, people are going to be online, just like I tell them strangers, like kids can be predators too. I was like, there can be an adult that sends a child to come get you. They can show you a dog and come get you. So I told him online, anything inappropriate happens online, you tell me, because it doesn't mean just because someone's cursing or does something inappropriate, just because you're playing doesn't mean you're at fault. I need to know this so I can tell the developers that this person is on there doing it and it's not okay. And that's what I told him. He came and told me one day, and I know nothing about video games, and he told me one day some person on there was calling him a noob. So I guess a noob is like, for video gamers, like a cornball or something.
Or newbie.
Yeah. Newbie. Oh, I guess so, newbie. So, and they heard his feelings, and I was like, so let's brainstorm. What are we gonna do about this? And then I know nothing about video games, and he was like, oh, wait a minute, I can turn it off. I was like, well, that's a good idea. Don't talk to anybody that you don't know. And the people he knows from his class, okay, but a new person comes in, you leave the room, or you turn off their ability to talk to you.
Right.
So,
and just to hit on that point, I don't want to get too far off topic, because I am an Xbox One player. I do
PS4.
play. Outside of reading thousands of books, I do play Call of Duty. But they're all, and it always amazes me, because I can have my headphones on, and there are other adults, and sometimes they do say some wild, crazy things. But then you'll always hear a kid like on there out of nowhere. I'm like, my man, how old are you? I don't even feel comfortable talking to you through here, because I'm an adult, you're a child. This is just honestly weird, and it's just always been a weird feeling. And I guess it's actually been heightened because everybody's at home, during COVID. So when I'm not, putting 80 hours of work in at my job, so if my employer is listening, when I'm putting 80 hours of work in,
go ahead, talk that talk.
Okay.
And I'm on this, everybody's, playing this game. It's just always weird. So I think, what you said, Jenny, just, very interesting. And just keeping that, for my child that's watching, as well in mind, that, you just have to be careful on these things, especially, during this time where there are people, on these mediums.
And go ahead. No,
go ahead, Jenny. Go ahead.
No, you could go.
Go ahead. No, go ahead. We brought you on the show to talk. You don't want to hear me.
Well, it will tie in with COVID, because we need downtime. And Tamara, I know you need downtime. You have kids under 4.
Right.
So like that's why I allow him to play more video games. But I think with COVID, like you said, going outside, as soon as we thought maybe in July to go outside, we were like throwing them outside because I feel as though they were kids who played outside, they played sports, and then we locked them in a house for 3 months and they got very content with playing video games or watching TV. So now I throw my kids outside. Like I got a pool, they're outside. Go to trampoline, outside. Bike, getting back to being kids. So
That's right.
Right.
Back to being kids. We definitely took it back basic because we did the hopscotch, we did jumping rope, we bought our bike, we bought our roller skates.
Yeah.
I mean, we tried to fill in the gap however we could, especially when the weather broke, because we were like, what else are we going to do?
Right.
And then like, I garden. So, I took her along with me in the garden. It was just however we could keep her entertained. Now, my boys are babies. So, they were fine. It's not a big deal to them. But with her, it was just like, okay, we gotta find something to keep you. And then on top of that, all the energy. If you don't get them outside, they're crazy if they don't get that opportunity to get outside and let that out. So that was necessary.
So I want to definitely extend from that as well, because one of the segues that I can get from this was we're friends and family, right? And so we are social beings as humans, and we want to talk to our friends, we want to talk to our families. So how did other families react to COVID? What were they doing with their families, whether it was your actual family or your friends or in your neighborhood? Were they doing things different from you? Was it some controversial things they were doing? Were they not doing anything? Like, tell me about that experience for you.
I think there were some families that were more reluctant to stay in the house. We haven't, like, you might not have seen them, but I think for the most part, when everyone, like when the doors open back up, if we want to meet up with, I would say a close family friend, and it was outside, and they wore their masks, it was really no problem. But I did know people who are just like locked in their house. They're very scared. They're still scared now. So it wasn't any problem, because I'm a believer of, if that works for you, it works for you. We're going to do what works for us, and we're not going to judge, because if, God forbid, I lure you out to come out and sit 6 feet from me and then you get sick, that's on my conscience. And we're human beings. You are going to think it was that time I went over Jenny's house. That was the only time I've ever been out. It was her fault. And to take it deeper, I know I never took my kids the whole time, that whole 3 months or 4 months, I didn't take them out with me to public places like Target or ShopRite, because I am one of those moms you can have, like, you want to get fruit, go get fruit. And I think it was too sudden and too strict to shut it down and say, when you're in ShopRite, put your hands to your side and da-da-da. I didn't want to freak them out like that. So
yeah.
I'm curious too, because I know Tam said you guys did bike riding, and I know that you couldn't find a bike in Walmart or any other place. Like, I had to buy my daughter's birthday a bike off and don't tell her, so she's listening, this didn't happen. But off a Facebook marketplace, because we just couldn't find any bikes on Amazon or anywhere else, because they just went. So I'm do you guys already have bikes for the kids? Did you have to go out and buy the stuff, or
we had bikes?
Okay.
Yeah, well, we had to get bikes. I was fortunate enough to have a friend who owns a bike shop. So yeah, and he came down. His shop is near the shore, Jersey Shore. So he actually came down Central Jersey area, and he did a pop-up shop, because he realized it was such a high demand, and he did several lives, and he was sold out. Like, every time he would re-up, he would sell out. Right. So it was definitely difficult to find bikes, and he's the person who I actually got my bike through.
Oh, very nice. Very nice. Oh, wonderful. So I do want to ask a question, because I know we're coming up on the 10-minute mark. And so I want to know just, two questions. One, I just want to talk about, how do you maintain your professionalism now, being a parent and all those other things, and how are you, still able to do your work, and you kind of, what are the tips and tricks for that? during this juncture? How do you do it? How do you make it happen?
Loaded question.
And make sure it's good. The employer's watching.
Right. Yeah.
I know, right?
Streets is watching.
It's very challenging to say the least. Very challenging to say the least. I find myself like Jenny, finding like different places in the house to go hide. Like right now, they're coming, like they just came to the door. So we got to wrap this up. But it's very, very challenging. It's very difficult to complete a task when I started. Since I've been working from home, I don't think I've been able to sit down and start a project and finish it from start to finish. Like not at all. So my whole sleep pattern has been altered. Not for the good, not for the best, because I find myself doing work when the house is quiet. When I can sit down, and that's usually on the late night. So I've been averaging going to sleep, 2, 3 in the morning, turning work in, that should have been done probably 6 o'clock, but it's just impossible. Right. So, and it's like, children don't understand when they see mommy, if I tell them I'm working from home, they don't understand that. So I just, at this point, I do the best I can, with what I'm working with. And I think that's all you can ask for. You do the best you can, because otherwise I wouldn't be able to, continue on without, my supervisor. She has been very understanding. She has young children herself, so she knows, she can definitely empathize with, what I'm going through. And I really appreciate that, because if she wasn't, I don't know how I will be able to continue to work from home. It's very challenging.
Wow. And
thank you for that response.
And she meant that she stays up from 2 to 3 in the morning so she can get that assignment in by 6 o'clock.
Thank you for clearing that up.
Just wanted to clarify that. So she's up 2, 3 a.m.
Good job, Duncan.
Assignment in by 6 a.m. That's dedication.
I appreciate that, Duncan.
Dedication. Okay.
Dedication.
Yes, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, first of all, hats off to you, Tamara, because you have little ones. So I just want to say hats off to you.
Thank you.
That's remarkable. And that you're still able to do everything. That is really remarkable. So mine is a little bit different, because again, I can hold my kids accountable. Now I have a 2nd grader and a 4th grader. So they do understand, because of COVID, mommy's working. What I try to do is, when I'm home with them, because they do come home at 3, I try to work with them with their schoolwork. And then after that, they can go outside and play, and I could get things done. Just like Tamara, I wait until they go to bed, and then I'll try to do some things around that time, but also still try to spend quality time with my husband. So I have learned to do a lot of time management and see sometimes you got to pick and choose what needs to be done right away and what doesn't. So if I don't cook dinner because I had to work with them on their work and finish up like observations, which could be very time consuming, that's a day that I'll order out and won't feel bad about it. Or it might be sometimes that I really need to get something done, and it's like, okay, boys, you can have an extra hour on your video games, because like when the pandemic hit, every night they thought was like movie night, like from like Wednesday to Sunday was like family movie night, and that's usually only on Fridays. So they got a little lax in it, and sometimes I just had to do other things to make sure I can get what's done. But the biggest thing was I didn't, because now they saw us working from home and sometimes kind of pushing them to the side. So I had to self-reflect and really make sure that they understand that they are important, but this has to be done so you can have all the things you have. Because again, working a regular traditional way, they saw mommy go to work, come home, do a little work here and there, and then I was able to spend time with them. But when we all were working from home, it was like when they needed me, sometimes I couldn't be available. And that's something that they weren't used to. So that was a conversation, but now they're older, more responsible, only a little older, but I try to do, you're in second grade, you don't need mommy. So yeah, but very much time management and still making them feel that they're important. Yeah. So yeah.
Wow. Yeah, that's powerful.
Yeah, I think, Duncan, I don't know if you had another question, but I do have a quick question for the panelists.
Go right ahead.
So I know, Jenny, this is going to be an interesting question for you because you're in this field, but what is your appreciation of teachers now? If you had to be a LSA, TA, you have to be all these super.
Wait.
But yeah, be honest, because I really want to know, what's your appreciation of teachers now?
I will say this, I'm going to be 100% honest. It has not changed because from being a vice principal, and I was also a special ed supervisor, how I conducted my class and the students that I had, my experience as a teacher is different from what I think the 40 teachers that I have to oversee. There's times I come in and and as a supervisor too, I will come in and you might see a disruptive child and I'm saying, why don't you just tell this child to do X, Y, and Z? And before I'll tell them to do that, but then I'll also try to go in and see how the child acted. I'm like, oh, okay. So as an administrator, most of the time I'm dealing with that child when the teacher has exalted all possibilities and I'm just one-on-one with that child. They don't have a show. So I've always had respect for teachers because they deal with a lot of behavior problems sometimes. And two, with differentiation, now we're having different learning styles. You also have to, a teacher can be a TA too, because they're conducting a lesson, then analyzing data, and then working one-on-one, wiping tears when kids cry. So I've always thought that teachers were awesome. And I say they are the glue, basically, because definitely I'm not in the classroom with 30 kids or even 20 kids a day. They have to deal with it. So I've always had, that's why I treat them well. So because their job is the most important job, because at the end of the day, the teachers are who educate the child. I don't. I mean, I might sit on the board and help with the curriculum and make sure that's implemented in a classroom, but I don't stand in front of those kids every single day, no matter if they had a bad night, no matter if they lost a parent, no matter if they don't feel good. They have to conduct themselves as professionals and implement the lesson. So I've always had respect for the teachers. And as for lunch aid, my mother has always taught me from the bottom to the top, you treat everybody with respect, because I've seen
absolutely.
But I do wish I can have some free lunches because these kids ate me out of house and home. For the break.
Talk about it.
So I respect the lunch days more because they actually fed my kids during that time and I didn't have to. So yeah.
And I think so just to jump into it, so it's really funny. So I find myself turning into my father, there we go. So there
you go. About that time.
Turning into my father when it comes to the schoolwork. So my daughter, you might be doing like this new math, and I'm like, well, what did the teacher say did? Were you in class?
Yeah.
I don't know how to learn it. I got mine. You need to get yours. And I'm like,
oh, you said that, Duncan?
It is something in my head, but it's just
different.
Yeah, I didn't go to math, and it just looking at it, it's like, wow, I just I have a new respect for teachers.
Right.
I'm like, I just don't understand how you guys actually even teach this. It's just
I love math.
Yeah. Have you done the little boxes? I don't even know what they're called.
Yeah, they do the little boxes.
The Singapore math that you got to explain with I don't even know what it is.
Yeah, but that was the thing that I caught my husband had going back and forth with the first grader. And I was like, hold on. Let me just step in. I got this, because they learn it a certain way and you can't teach them the way you taught it. So that's what he's trying to do. They're like, no, this is not, the teacher said do it. And I'm like, okay, how did the teacher say, okay, I can get it.
They gave me a YouTube video. I just gave up. I walked away. I said, I looked at my wife and said, listen, I said, it's either you can help her with it or me and your daughter, we both gonna fail this class.
So I know I want to be conscious of the time, right? Because I know it's on the hour, right? So let's maybe just wrap it up with one last question. Is that all right, everyone?
No.
Is that good? Okay. So let's do this. if we have the viewers watching, and people are tuning in, and this will be on replay on YouTube, right, and Facebook. What are your major takeaways for people to remember from this conversation? Things that they can take with them tangibly to help them out, maybe with the stress that they're dealing with the COVID, from life as a parent, as an entrepreneur, as a employee, right, as a husband and wife. What can you give to them to take away today?
Go ahead. I'll let Tamara go first.
Mm-hmm.
All right. I think it's important for people to realize, you can't put too much stress and pressure on yourself. You can only do as much as you can. And that's what I learned. I had so much anxiety in the beginning of this pandemic, and it was so stressful. I wasn't getting enough sleep. And I realized, I was like, if you don't take care of yourself first, you're not going to be able to, number one, do this job. And you're not going to be able to take care of your family. So, I had to learn self-care was important. And it's key.
Absolutely.
And, you do what you can. You do the best that you can, and you do what you can, but you got to take care of yourself.
That's right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Thank you, Tamara.
I will take the piggyback off of Tamara. Always remember, step back. Things that you deem that need to be done or don't have to really be done sometimes at that moment. It's more important about your mental space and your emotional space. None of us was prepared for this, so therefore we can't expect ourselves to handle this perfectly. And our loved ones around us, they understand that you can't be the perfect person. And also to the people that you deem important in your life, let them know they're important. Show them that they're important, because as we see, things aren't certain. And also be grateful for what you have, and teach that to your children. Share that with your children, and use this time wisely, because a lot of us professionals, we are at home, and this is something that we weren't supposed to, we normally wouldn't have. So yes, homeschool your child, make sure they learn their math and they read, but also enjoy them, have fun. Don't let it stress you out that now you're not building positive memories with your child.
Indeed.
Right.
Profound.
And thank God.
Yeah, definitely.
Profound.
Right. And I want to, and if I can just go off of that as well, is that, usually, so sometimes we say, don't bring your work home, right? So, but what happens when you're working from home, right? And so, you may be upset at the job, you bring that home, and it reflects, on the family. And so I think that's just something when we talk, you talk about self-care, when you talk about, spending time with your loved ones, that you have to learn to separate the two. So, you get your work done, then you turn that off, right? And then you go to your family and you love your family, right? You do some positive things with your family, and you also spend the amount of time that you spend on your work with your family as well. And I think that's what, one of the 7 steps to a highly effective family. I just threw that out there. That's actually
I see what you did there. I see what you did there.
But Stephen Covey wants to call me. We can talk about it. Okay, we can make that the 8th step.
Hey, listen, man, you dress for success, so you dress like a judge. He gonna call you. If you hear that, he gonna call you.
Oh God. Oh yeah.
All right. So I guess this is the end, sadly. I had a good time with you all.
That was wonderful.
Just a lot of profound insight, a lot of real experiences. And I think that everyone could take away some things from this conversation. So, Duncan, I'll give it to you so we can wrap things up and get out of here.
Yeah. Thank you all for joining us tonight. Please make sure you tune in next time. We look forward to seeing you. And make sure you check us out, www.mercercountyworks.com.
Got the plug. You better plug that thing. Go ahead now. All right. See y'all later. Salute.
Take